Hey everybody, I'm Joe and welcome back to the Homestead. Today we are tackling a problem that if you've butchered something before, or even if you just have a kitchen, you've probably encountered this before. Dull knives. Dull knives are dangerous knives. If you haven't heard that before, you heard it from me. Trademarked. So we're going to jump in with Mark. He has 20 plus years of butchering experience, and that means 20 plus years of knife sharpening experience. So let's jump in with him. This is the Anyone Can Farm experience. Let's talk about knife edges. You got a couple of different blades here. Can we talk about the different uses for them?
Yeah, this is just what we use in this shop. All right, so for cutting through meat and fat, we just use a knife, right? And this is a pretty general purpose knife. I know there's a lot of different kind of knives, but this is just a general purpose. This is a boning knife, and our philosophy on this is we want to keep this knife as sharp as possible because we're going to do a couple things. We're going to reduce the fatigue that we will feel when we're cutting. We're going to be able to cut a lot easier, right? And we're going to preserve the edge of this blade by keeping it sharp, believe it or not. Okay? Because if we let it go completely dull, then we've got to hone it again, or we've got to resharpen it again. So what we want to do is before it goes completely dull, we want to hone it. Okay? To do that, we use an oil stone. It's called an oil stone because in the bottom of this we actually have cutting oil, right? And that cutting oil is in there to float the actual pieces of steel that come off the blade when we are sharpening it. Okay, so if this was really dull, I would start like this. You want these to be between 17 and 20 degrees. Personally, I like it to be about 18.25 degrees. That's my sweet spot. So that's what I work for all the time, 18.25. Try it, see if you like it. If not, you can go to 20.
And when you say cutting oil, what do you mean by cutting oil?
It's a machine oil that is designed to float small pieces of metal.
Okay.
Right? So if you used a really light oil, you would have a way of actually working the pieces of metal into the stone. We want to keep the pieces of metal out of the stone so that it maintains an abrasive edge.
Okay.
Right? So once I've got it, let's say I had to start over again and I did this circular motion and I did it for about 5 minutes at 18.25 degrees. Once I have it there, then I'm going to want to take a couple of swipes just like this. And what that's doing is that is scratching the blade or scoring the blade in the same direction that I'm going to be cutting the meat. I'm going to be cutting like this, right? So you can't see it, it's microscopic, but there I just scratched the blade in the same arc, the same cutting direction that I'm going to be going with this blade, right? So I'm not working against the actual serrations that are on here, okay? Now, once I've got it nice and sharp, let's say I'm using it for a little while, it starts to feel like it's not quite so sharp. Then what I want to do is I want to straighten out this blade. And when they say straighten out, what they mean is if you were to look at this under the microscope, you would see these tiny little fingers sticking up, you know, tiny, tiny, tiny. And when you use this, you bend those over. And then what you want to do is you want to use what they call a steel, a butcher's steel, to straighten them back out. And you do it like this. Now if you're trained to use this, ooh, look at that spider. If you're trained to use this, you're going to be trained to work away from you. But to me, it feels very unnatural. So I always work towards myself, which you're really not supposed to do, but it seems far more natural to do that. Right? You get a cadence going, and you really don't even have to look at it when you're doing it. You just get used to doing it. And that will bring your blade edge back to razor cutting. Okay? I can actually shave the back of my hand with this.
Oh yeah, okay. Faux show.
Yep.
And I think the biggest thing that I see people do wrong, especially with the sharpening steel, is you got to maintain that angle. That 20-degree angle has to be maintained throughout the full draw of the knife. Because you always see somebody, they'll start like here, and by the time they get to the bottom, it's a totally different angle. And then you have to go back to your stone, reaccomplish your blade. So
that's really true.
Start slow.
When we're doing classes and you have people who are not used to doing this kind of work, and you have a stone or a steel out, and they start getting a dull blade, if they pick up the knife and they do it incorrectly, then you have to go back and you have to resharpen the knife again.
I like to take one of these, and then if I see them using one, I just start beating them with my sharpening steel and try to teach them that way.
Yeah, stop. No, usually what I do is I just tuck it down into my boot, and that's where it stays, and nobody really wants to come over and steal it from me. So that's the knife, and there is one other thing. This is a fairly new. This is a diamond edge, they call this, and it's I guess it's a new type material. We haven't seen these. This one is new to me. I've had it for a couple months. It was $30, but they have really good reviews. And this one is used simply, you just draw the knife in the direction that you're going to be working at the same angulation, 18.25 degrees.
I think a lot of people are going to be drawn to those auto sharpeners that you pick up from Walmart. What's your opinion on those?
Well, we've tried a couple of them because, they market them pretty good. This is one. Actually, this does a good job of sharpening if you don't know how to sharpen a knife. I mean, it's going to be okay if you don't know how to do a knife. So the way this is done is you put your knife up like this, and then you draw that down like that.
Oh, that's such a gross sound.
Yeah, no, you're just pulling so much material off the blade. But it's sharp. It does work well, but they're tough on your knives. They're really tough on your knives. And remember the little fingers that I told you about that stick up? When you use something like this, you will strip them off. Yeah, you can hear it. You strip them right off. So this is about a $12 device. You see them at gun shows and stuff. Yeah. Probably what you want to do is put this in the console of your car and then drive the car out to the lake and then drive it into the lake. And this one is about the same. This is a good name too. It's Fisker's, and it's supposed to be that you draw the knife through it, and it's supposed to give you this ultimate. I think it's a little bit better than the blue one, but again, I think if you're going to get serious about cutting meat, and you might as well, the thing to do probably is to invest in a good oil stone. This one came from my grandparents' house, so it's been around. And possibly one of these nice diamond cuts. This seems to work really well. I mean, I might even suggest going to this first. This is newer technology, and it works really well.
So when we're talking about that 18.25 that you favor, is that going to be the same across the board for all our butchering implements?
No, actually not. That's going to work really good for a knife like this, a general purpose boning knife. But then some of the work that we're going to do is going to be with a knife like this or an implement like this. Some people might say it's a knife. Some people might say it's not a knife. It's a cleaver, but does have a knife edge on it. And this is for parting bone or breaking bone. And the edge on this should be somewhere around 30 degrees, all right? But you do want to keep this sharp as well, and you use the same techniques. This does really nice with this. Really nice.
All right, there you go, guys. If you enjoyed that video, if you could go ahead, hit that thumbs up. It helps us out and helps the algorithms know that you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about what you saw today, go ahead, drop it down in the comments section. We're going to be answering everything down there. And if you're curious about what knives you should buy for the Homestead, go ahead, click this video right here, and we'll catch you all in the next one.